Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Jim.
Perfect general. How perfect was it?
We will be talking about that. And your co-host, Spaz.
Hello.
And we're not sure where Hunter is. Hopefully, he'll show up at some point. But we do have a guest this week joining us from Genesee, Colorado. Did I say that right? Genesee?
Yeah, Genesee.
Genesee. Game developer and current professor of practice at the Colorado School of Mines, Mark Baldwin. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you all doing?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking. Now, before we get started about gaming, I have to ask, what is a professor of practice?
This is a way for major universities to bring in people who don't have doctorates. I don't have a doctorate. Because of my experience over the years, and lots of years, they fit me in as a professor of practice.
Okay, and what do you teach there?
Science and games.
You teach games.
Brought into Colorado School of Mines to teach a games class. Then they had me teaching data structures, and finally they made me this was all adjunct work, and finally they made me full-time as a professor of practice.
That's awesome. So what are some of do you like have students create their own games, or do you use other games as examples in your class?
I actually run them through a game engine and some coding of games as well, although it's simple games. In other words, the games class is a survey class for seniors in computer science. So I'm trying to touch on all aspects of computer games, not just one aspect of it. I do have them create a game, though, through a whole production cycle in Game Maker.
That is pretty awesome. So congratulations on that. I mean, that sounds like a kind of a dream gig, honestly. Like if you're good enough at something, you teach it. That sounds kind of great, actually. I'm kind of jealous.
My retirement job, really. I just turned 65 this year. All sorts of different stuff, consulting to the industry, doing some teaching as adjunct, working on various projects and so on. And now I've cleaned up almost all of that. I might do a little consulting still, but I'm working full time.
That's pretty awesome. So the reason we asked you here is because after we had Trevor on the show a little while back to talk about Starfleet, he's like, you got to get Mark on because he's a real interesting guy and he can give you another perspective as to not only the Starfleet games, which we're huge fans of, but Empire and Perfect General as well. So we love those games, and those are actually some of the first war games I ever played back in the early 90s. So yeah, I think one of the first war games I played was Empire 2. So I had fun.
And Empire 2 was less than satisfactory from my point of view.
Oh, why is that?
I didn't quite get the feel of gameplay I really wanted out of that. A lot of new ideas, and to me, the pieces for the new ideas, they were all good, but they just didn't mesh perfectly.
Well, I played both Empire Deluxe and Empire 2 the other day to make a background video for this for the show. And I noticed, because I didn't really play the first Empire, I just played Empire 2, and I noticed they do play quite differently. Like in Empire Deluxe, your goal is to take over these cities on the map, while in Empire 2, the goal is whatever the scenario dictates.
Yeah.
It looked like.
Empire 2 is basically, I tried to do a war game construction set which would cover warfare to sci-fi warfare and everything in between.
Yeah, and the version I was playing had like some fantasy scenarios, I think it was a steampunk scenario, some more sci-fi scenarios. So it had a wide range of scenarios. But Empire Deluxe was a much more streamlined affair with a map and armies and cities. Did you prefer that more streamlined affair of the first two Empire games more than Empire 2?
Empire to me, and Empire Deluxe, which was not 80% the same game or whatever, game system. So it worked very well. All the pieces worked well with each other. Empire 2 was, again, exploration with new ideas. Tried to bite off a very big chunk with Empire 2, and I was never quite happy with that chunk I bit off. Now, other people liked it fine. I just didn't.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself playing both the Deluxe and Empire 2. And speaking of Deluxe, I'm sure you're aware of that Kickstarter that just happened, right? Oh God, did I cut out again? I cut out again. I'm sorry. Yeah, we seem to be having some issues with Discord tonight, folks. Let me switch servers again. 1 second. Okay, we have switched servers. Hopefully that'll take care of whatever issues we're having. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's something on my end or what. But no, I was asking if you're aware of the Empire Combined Edition that just ended yesterday.
Yes. I even gave him $100 on that.
Nice. That's awesome. I gave him 50 my own self because I want all of the games, and I think that was the level where you get all four things. So I'm very excited to finally have copies of those.
I sold, or actually me and my partner sold Empire Deluxe to Mark Kincaid, 10, 15 years ago or whatever. And he's kept it alive, which I've really appreciated. Giving them the money on that.
It's amazing how gamers can keep games alive. Like we were playing over the weekend. A game from 2002 called Earth and Beyond that only lasted a year or two, but fans are keeping it alive through emulation. So that is pretty awesome. I think my problem is my push to talk system. I'm gonna just take that off. So y'all are gonna hear me. Y'all are gonna hear me type and stuff. And now I apologize for that, but I might be having issues with the thing I was using to do the push to talk, and so that's that little pedal I was using. Yeah, so I'm always excited to see these old games still alive and kicking, like this, like Perfect General, like what's that other one, Lost Admiral, that's still kicking around.
If Lost Admiral is still kicking around, I'd like to play it again. That was not me.
Right. It was somebody else, but I'm just using that as another example, because that was pretty great. And I think it's the Lost Admiral Returns, is the version that's still kicking around right now.
Could be.
Yeah, but that is awesome that you not only sold the rights, but you sold it to someone who apparently loves the game so much that they've kept it going for over a decade. Because I read on the Killer Bee Software website you sold them the rights in the early 2000s, 2002, I think.
I was thinking it was later than that, but I could be wrong. I was thinking maybe 2006 or something like that, but I'd have to look at my records to find out for sure.
It's totally possible. But I do want to talk about Empire and the Perfect General more, but since we're a space game blog podcast thing, I want to talk about the Starfleet series first, if that's okay.
Certainly.
So you and Trevor worked on, I believe, 3 games in the... Well, let me clarify something first. Is the Empire series in the same universe as the Starfleet games? I was never quite clear on that.
We forced it into the Starfleet universe.
Oh, really?
The kludge into the Starfleet universe. I mean, when we were preparing Empire for publication and so on, I had already done work on Starfleet 1 and Starfleet 2 at that time. But the whole Interstellar had the sci-fi name even. And so the idea was proposed, I don't know by who, that Empire should be part of the Starfleet universe. So it was a last minute imposition, shall we say, as we were writing the manuals and so on.
Okay, because yeah, it never really felt like it was like, and it's kind of funny because then the 3rd game in the Starfleet series, which was not Star Raiders, what was that one called? The ground combat one. What was? Oh God.
And you just blanked out my name. The name myself. I should know my own games.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Oh God. Hang on. I'm gonna look it up. Oh no. I'm such a fool, you guys. Hang on. It's not Star Crusader. What the hell is it called? But yeah, the 3rd game was kind of Empire-ish because you took the ground combat portion of Starfleet 2 and kind of made it its own game. And Star Legions. That's what it was called. Star Legions. Oh my God. I remembered it.
Combat for Starfleet 2.
Right. Now,
Starfleet 2 released and so on. We were kicking around and we decided, well, we could actually take the ground game and make it a separate game.
Yeah,
Pulled it out, rewrote it, redesigned it, and did Star Legions.
Yeah, I honestly admit that's probably why I didn't play it at the time, because I was only interested in stuff with spaceships for a very long time. And so I played Starfleet 1 and 2, but ground stuff, I didn't start caring about that till later. I'll be perfectly honest.
But I still had spatial bombardments and so on in Star Legions.
Which is awesome, because there aren't a lot of games that have orbital bombardment. You know, and so that was pretty great, I have to admit. But I played a lot of, especially the first Starfleet, The War Begins, because you guys took what was a tried and true formula, because there had been other ASCII style games like that, Star Trek, Trek 73, and you guys refined it and made it something that even an 11-year-old like me could play.
It worked out pretty well.
Yeah, so how did you guys come to making the first Starfleet game?
Well, that was Trevor, not me. And
okay.
I was brought into other platforms.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
write the original Starfleet 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it was on like 8 because there were more platforms at the time, but it was like on every platform back then. It was like on the Commodore and the Atari and the...
Yeah, we had to rewrite them from scratch almost for each platform. Now, I do remember I threw in some added features for the versions I did.
Oh, like what?
And such. I knew you'd ask that. I don't remember.
Oh, no. It has been a long time. But did you work more directly on Starfleet 2 then?
I was, well, with Starfleet 2, I wrote all of the ground combat for Starfleet 2. And actually, that's why I was called in for. I worked on other stuff. And then there was the big disaster right before publication.
Wait, what disaster? What happened? Uh-oh.
Well, the product was supposedly ready for printing. vacation.
Right.
And major bugs showed up.
Oh no.
And so they called me up and said, you need to fix this. And I said, I don't even have the full source code for it.
Oh no.
They had to run around because they couldn't get a hold of Trevor. Eventually it was I obtained everything I needed. I chased down the major bugs, which had just cropped up right before publication, and we still got it out.
Oh, geez. That sounds... But it was... But wasn't it dinged for bugs even after release? Like, it got a major patch, like, after the fact, if I recall correctly. But I recall gaming publications at the time dinging it because it was buggy. I didn't really play it much.
Our quality assurance methodologies were rather poor at that time.
Oh no. Oh. Well, it did get patched, and I've been playing it, and I gotta say, it is still it's almost 20 years. It came out in what, 89, right? I think.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's still one of the most ambitious space games I've ever played. Like, there are very few other games that model systems to the fidelity, both on the ground and in space, that game does. So well done.
Actually, that explains some of the bugs. We were pushing the capabilities of those machines at the time.
Oh God, I bet.
And we had a very complex piece of software.
Yeah, it was really complex. Like, I've got the manual. I actually got a boxed copy because I wanted a printed copy of the manual and the tutorial stuff. And the manual is just one of the best. I'll be honest, one of the best manuals I've ever read. But it is also so dense. It is so dense with information because the game is dense with information. It's amazing how much stuff is in this game.
And I mean, you don't have manuals much anymore in games.
No.
But back in those days, we did create fairly heavy-duty manuals, and there was even a marketing reason for it.
Oh? What was the marketing reason?
Well, because people would heft the box, and that's the...
Mark,
because people in the store would heft the box and just be like, "Well, that's a heavy box. I'll buy it."
Yeah, Mark,
What's that?
Mark, I think you're cutting out. You might need to get closer to the microphone, maybe a little bit, because you're kind of cutting out a little bit.
Yes, exactly. The weight of the box. People associated value with weight.
Really? You know what? Thinking back on it, I would always pick up boxes and go, "Ooh, there's a lot of stuff in here."
Well, if you've looked in the indie section on Steam, there's a lot of bricks that are on there. So it kind of still... Like,
Mark, did you ever play the Rules of Engagement games?
And with soft... sounds familiar. I don't remember it.
They were also starship simulators. And they were very detailed. Their interfaces looked like right out of Star Trek The Next Generation. And they had manuals just as thick as this. Like this is such an impressive manual.
So Rules of Engagement was the ones that actually integrated with the game Breach, right?
Yeah, that's a different thing. Yeah, but they did Rules of Engagement 1 integrated with Breach 2, and then Rules of Engagement 2 integrated with Breach 3.
That's not confusing.
I know. And not every scenario used it. Like, the scenario had to be specifically designed to have that link. I believe they called it the IGS. Like, something game system or interlocking game system or something like that. Why do I remember that? But
it's a very vague memory on my part.
Right. But, so you did the ground combat stuff, which was really for the time, because there were ground war games, SSI had been doing their thing, but there was really never a mix of the ground and the space to this extent, especially. I mean, you may have had some like adventure games like Starflight or and whatnot, but you guys had Planet Territorial Conquest. Was that like? It felt like it was almost two games bolted together. Is that accurate, or were they actually like one code base? Because I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It just felt like they felt very distinct. You know what I mean?
It was two designers. I was the designer of the land game. Trevor was the designer of the space game. So that's probably what you were seeing.
Oh, wow. That's kind of amazing.
So right around the same time, they had like Sun Tzu's Ancient Art of War. I forget who made that.
Microprose. Like, I believe that was
yeah.
Microprose.
I thought that was EA.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it was. It's just, it's notable just that that's the first game that I remember, like, on PC. Because it's like I had a Commodore and I had an Atari and that, but like the first PC game that I ever got hands on was Ancient Art of War on a green, black and green Hercules graphics card.
Oh man!
Now,
yeah.
one thing I would point out is that's probably one of the first RTS games ever made.
Oh, The Art of War?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
Star Legions.
Oh, Star Legions. I'm sorry, I still haven't played it.
Well,
I'm going
there's
to.
That kind of links to a conversation we had the other night. Because I'm kind of thinking, like, as far as the legitimate RTS games, the ones that we remember as like, build a base and then recruit a bunch of tanks and stuff, like Dune 2. Herzog's Way came before that, but Dune 2, I think, is the one that got the formula. But that actually reminded me a lot of Empire whenever I got to mess with it.
There's flavor to that. And then with Star Legions, I used basically real-time movement and so on, which is one of the foundations of the RTS game systems. In other words, give orders while the clock is ticking and units are moving.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if the designers of that stuff, like Westwood from back in the day, I wonder if they would admit to the influence. It's like, oh yeah, we played that and then made this.
Well, all art is art.
Say again?
And so we're all influenced as game designers from everything we've experienced as game designers in the past and so on.
Right.
So there's a lot of this influence always going on.
No, that makes sense. But I mean, it's a little different back in this era because this was gaming's infancy. So there was a lot of stuff that was like that originated from this time period.
Yeah, but we were still from board game designs before that.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I didn't think of that. I always forget about board games. I'll be honest. I always forget about board games. What were a lot of your
Which
design?
is why I have to remind you.
Yeah, you do. Sorry, yeah, you do. Were your designs influenced by board games?
Oh, most certainly. I was playing war games since I was 8 or 10 years old.
Wow.
And first game I ever had published was a set of rules for miniatures when I was about 16 years old.
Wait, what? That's amazing. What was that called?
Let's see, Lensman. It was actually based on a set of novels by E. Doc Smith.
The Lensman novels? Really? Oh my God. I think I read one of those as a kid. It's been so long. Wow.
So I had a space miniatures game based on the combat described in the Lensman novels.
That is And you did that at 16, and it was published. Jeez. So what got you into computer games then? If you had this board game background, what got you? Did you see it as like the next thing, or did something else bring you into computer gaming?
Yeah. For just accumulation of a number of factors. I mean, I was a game designer in paper games and so on. I loved playing games. I was a nerd. Okay, that's one factor.
Sure.
Another factor is my degree, where it was engineering degree, but was systems engineering and modeling. All computer game is a computer model of something. Functional tools for computer programming. Then the PCs came out, and being the nerd I was, I bought a PC and started writing stuff for it as much as possible. Then there was, these were friends of mine at NASA.
Oh.
They needed product, and they needed converters and so on. So they hit me over the head, and I started working for them. Of a number of different aspects.
Oh, okay. That's pretty awesome, and that's led to a fairly lengthy career from what we've seen. I mean, we were looking at on a couple of sources. We were looking at all the games you've worked on, and it's kind of all over the map. I mean, you've worked on the Starfleet and Empire games, but also there were some racing games and some other real-time strategy games. We definitely want to talk to you about Metal Fatigue, by the way.
Okay.
We saw that came up. Spaz especially is a fan of that game.
That's the one with the robots and the islands and stuff. Okay. Yeah, which I absolutely cannot get to run on a modern PC.
Oh, no.
Ask if anyone can get it to run.
Yeah, I can get it almost to run, but some of the textures like turn inside out. And,
I'll send you a link.
It's like the corners of the polygons like shoot off the screen. So you got a link to something that fixes it.
Yeah. I think the folks at playoldgames.com, playoldpcgames.com, they're awesome, by the way, if you haven't gone there. For certain games, and they haven't done this for every game yet, but they've made for this game they made a replacement installer for specifically Metal Fatigue, which I used to install it on my Windows 7 64-bit machine, and it runs great. I'll put it in the stream chat for you. Those guys are awesome, by the way, because who doesn't love playing old PC games? So yeah, after this Interstellar stuff, you made what was it, White Wolf Games? Is that what it was called? I'm blanking.
White Wolf Productions.
Okay, because there's also that company that made pen and paper role-playing games, and I think that was also White Wolf, wasn't it?
That was White Wolf Games.
They were White Wolf Games. We were White Wolf Productions. There was always something over the two.
Yeah, because we were looking you up the other day, and we're like, oh my God, White Wolf. Oh, wait. That's a different White Wolf. Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, because I only played, I think, the Perfect General 2 for of course, Empire 2, like we talked about. But so how did White Wolf come about?
Well, basically, as games were getting more complex and so on, the need for more people to work on a game increased. I had a friend that I had done who had basically worked for me doing some conversion stuff, Bob Burkowski. And in the early 90s, we basically decided to form a company to develop games. And that ran through most of the 90s.
Right, because I think was Perfect General 2 the last game you guys did as that company?
I'm thinking we did a couple things after that, but nothing major.
Okay. I don't want to type. I would usually type to look it up right now, but since I'm not on push to talk, I don't. I have an old keyboard, you know, one of these guys, and so I don't want to be typing in the middle of other people talking. So I'm just going by memory for the most part. But yeah, there were some. I think there were some scenario discs for Perfect General 1 and 2, as well, if I recall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they were very lauded at the time as well, if I recall. They were very popular at the time. So, what happened to White Wolf? Why did that come to an end?
Well, we both decided to go off in different directions, and we had I don't remember how we were clean of everything, but at one point we basically didn't have any contracts. We really were ready to go off to do something, so it was a nice, clean place to close down the company.
Oh, okay. See, you never hear of amicable. You don't. We've heard other stories about game companies ending and whatnot, and they've never been that amicable. Like, never. They have never been that. Oh, we just decided to move on to something else, and we could. So they've never been that amicable. So that's actually refreshing, I have to admit.
Well, my partnership with Bob was very amicable. We were quite different people, but somehow we worked together well.
Sometimes those are the people that work the best together. But you continued to make games after that. Because, like, for example, Metal Fatigue, which I only started playing recently, because Spaz told me about it. I'd never played it at the time.
The key thing with Metal Fatigue was I was the AI designer for Metal Fatigue.
Oh.
I may have had some influence on the game design itself, but it was almost all AI.
Oh, wow.
Wow, indeed.
And Spaz, have you played that game to completion?
I did not. I got about 6 or 8 of the... Actually, no, I completed... Let's see... the beginning campaign.
Okay.
It's been years since I've gone back to it because, well, I didn't have a legacy system to run it on.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, you know, some of these old games, they will only work on older systems or virtual machines. Like Stars, for example, you know, that 4X game I was playing, like, you can only run that in a virtual machine, which is crazy.
Well, back in those days, we were writing games much closer to the CPU and operating system than you have to now.
Oh, really?
Any kind of performance.
Oh. I didn't know that. So, like, it would have to be for DOS. It would have to be for Atari. It wasn't like...
Or I can even take it further.
Okay.
We were primarily writing for the 286 at the time. 386 had not come out.
Right.
And to scroll the screen and get a nice smooth scroll, we went to the CPU and played with the bits. There was a bug in the 286 CPU code.
Oh, no.
386, they fixed the bug, and it broke Perfect General.
Oh, no. It did.
That's, wow.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, because Perfect General came out in 91, and there weren't 386s then.
Right.
Not yet, anyway. Yeah, that was like 92, or I think. God. CPUs moved much faster back then. I mean, like, development and, like, new ones, like, than they do now, if I recall.
Yeah.
Like, so much faster. Now I was looking you up on Wikipedia, and there was a game that came about in 1996 that I have never heard of before called Galactus. And I cannot find any information anywhere about this. So what is Galactus?
Galactus was the 4X game that never was finished.
Oh, no wonder I can't find anything about it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I think I have a couple brochures for it still around.
What happened to it? Because, 4Xs are awesome. So what happened to it?
Basically, the publisher flaked it out.
Oh. Oh, yeah, Trimark. I don't remember them doing much after the mid-90s. Yeah, that sounds about right. Another thing
the right part, although we developed it, it just died.
Oh. Because I'm like, that sounds like something I want to play, Galactus. That sounds like something I totally want to play. And I couldn't find anything on it, and that explains why. Because there is literally nothing on it except the pamphlets you own.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be honest. When I saw that you made a game called Dragon Force in 1989, I was really hoping it would be a game about dragons. And then I looked it up, and it wasn't.
It also sounds like it'd be a good ninja movie.
What was that, Mark?
Computer Gaming World brought out a list of the 150 best games ever made.
Okay.
Of which I had 3 games on that list.
Oh.
The same issue, they brought out the 50 worst games ever made.
Oh.
That list.
Oh, which games are on the worst one? Is Dragon Force on that one?
Dragon Force was on the 50 worst, yes.
Oh, what happened? Why? I know nothing about it. I'm insanely curious now. Why? What happened?
It was a nightmare that just
no.
was a nightmare. Best I can describe it.
Oh, no.
So it deserved to be on the worst 50 games.
Oh,
and
man.
I kind of took pride. I have 3 on the top 150 and 1 on the bottom 50.
Oh, man. Oh, no. But yeah, I'm looking at least at Wikipedia, and you also worked on some racing games. But one thing that I'm really curious about is this Sensor Combat the Balkan Cauldron for the Air Force Information Warfare Center in 1997. Please explain that. What is that? How did that come about? I am insanely curious about that one.
Well, I was contacted by the Air Force, or actually a contractor working for the Air Force, that wanted a game to train various information warfare skills. They brought me in to design the game. They provided their own programmers and such for it. This was down out of, I think it was Lackland Air Force Base down in Texas, some Air Force Base in Texas. And I spent a year designing that game for them and working with them on it.
Wow. That's amazing. And so, I mean, what was it? Was it kind of like was it like an AWACS type thing? Well,
it was modeling actually the Balkan conflict, which was going on at the time.
Oh, right.
Maintaining various different levels of information warfare and how they interacted and what kind of command and control you might have over it and so on.
Oh, okay. That sounds actually pretty awesome. Would that have worked as a commercial product or not? Was it
probably too boring as a commercial product?
Oh no. Because there
that makes sense though, because it's the simulator,
right?
Yes,
but there are some games that are sold to like the military, but they also have like versions that they'll sell to consumers. Like what? Isn't Steel Beast, that tank game? Isn't that sold to the military? But there's also a consumer version, I think. Jim, am I right about that? You would know more than I would, I think. Okay.
I'm sorry, my sister just called me, so I was dealing with that. I only had one earphone in.
I'm sorry. No, I was asking, I think it's Steel Beasts. They have a version for the military, but they also have a consumer version as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep, sure do.
So that does happen, but it sounds like this the sensor combat thing. That sounds like that. Like you said, that probably would have been too boring. That's a shame.
Yeah,
because you were in
designed for higher level officers and so on.
Oh,
So it was doing the large scale decision making.
because you were like right out of school. You were in the Air Force, right? The Strategic Air Command. Were you like one of the guys polishing Whopper in the Crystal Palace or what?
Missiles.
Wait, what?
I was targeting ICBMs at the Soviets, and actually, I was targeting Soviet ICBMs at the U.S. for wargaming purposes.
Oh my God!
See, he was involved in war games. I told you it was Matthew Broderick and all that.
Oh my God! How did you feel about that movie, War Games? Have you? Sorry?
I didn't think of much of that movie.
I bet.
Fair enough.
As a 10, 11-year-old young man, I loved that movie when it came out. Loved it. But I can imagine if you actually worked in that environment, you'd be like, come on. This is ridiculous.
Well, it's like me and Firebirds, right? Like everything that Nicolas Cage does wrong with the Apache, and I just cringe, like even today.
We should do like that gives me an idea, Jim. We should do like a live, like get on Rabbit and like stream Firebirds one day and like,
oh God,
just
and I can be like, oh, there's this friend of mine, and there's and we'll play a game. Like if anybody that can spot me in the movie wins a free copy of
Firebirds.
Yeah.
Just it's probably on Amazon for like $1 or something. Oh God, I couldn't even finish that movie, Jim. I'm sorry. I know you.
They hardly finished the movie.
Fair point.
Oh, sorry. Tangent, folks. Sorry. But Mark, when you were making all these games, were you playing any of the games that were out at the time that maybe influenced your designs at all? Were there any like seminal?
I'm sure I was. I mean, I've always been playing games and so on. So, and obviously, as I pointed out, all art is based on prior art. So,
right.
Yes, my games were based on how I was influenced by watching other people and so on. So,
well, yeah, my question was going to be like, do you remember some of the games you were playing back when you were making these other very popular games?
I knew you were going to go there.
Sorry. I remember what I was playing.
I'll go off. I'm trying to complete the loop here.
Okay.
But I like Civilization a lot.
Oh, okay, fair.
And Civilization, Empire. And then I'm sure, this is where I can't quite complete the loop. I am sure I've taken ideas that I took from Civilization and brought into other games. I just can't remember exactly.
Well,
Influences Civilization, which influences some other game of mine.
yeah, like because I do know people who told me that they felt that Empire influenced a lot of Civilization's design as well. Which I'll admit, I never played the first Civilization. I went right to the second one. Yeah, I'll be honest. I got into strategy games much later than I did other types of games, and so like I said, like I think Perfect General 2 was one of the first war games I ever played, and that was '94. So I missed a lot. I think it was that and. What was that one from SSI, Age of Rifles? The war game construction set?
Oh,
SSI put out a lot of war games.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
80s and early 90s.
Yes, they did. I became a huge fan of theirs once I started getting into strategy and war games. Huge fan. Oh, and I didn't even realize that like the Empire games were published by New World, who also published the Might and Magic games, like Heroes of Might and Magic and whatnot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
How were they to work with? Because they made a lot. They were very busy in the 90s. So how were they to work with?
I really liked working with company to work with.
Yeah, because they put out a lot of legendary stuff, like the Heroes of Might and Magic games, the Might and Magic role-playing games. Like, they put out so much stuff in... I mean, are they still going? No, they're not. They were purchased by 3DO in 96? Wow. And yet, Might and Magic...
And then the principles went away, and once the principles went away, the whole New World just became another company.
Yeah. But they put out a lot of great stuff for a while. Man, this is... Talking about older games like this really has me reminiscing for like a lot of these companies that don't exist anymore. Like New World, like SSI, like Microprose. You know, I mean, it's a different era, I know, but like, I kind of miss it in some ways, you know? Like, gaming was so different back then.
Oh, yeah.
Like if for years, like, if I recall correctly, you can only get games in specialty stores like Egghead and Babbage's and stuff.
For a long time, that was true.
Right.
And then Walmart started carrying games and forced everyone. If you note, at some point, all the game boxes became all the same.
Yeah. Yeah. They all became
That was Walmart.
Yeah, they all became DVD sized, and like the manuals were scrunched down, and it was really annoying. Yeah, I hated that.
So
and that's tied directly to Walmart with their big stick that can control the market.
Oh, that's a good point.
And they wanted uniformity.
Yeah, so there was a guy, his name's Rob Westmoreland, and he was the purchasing guy nationally for Walmart.
Okay.
Story about him briefly. So I got to sit down to dinner with him, and he was talking about Deer Hunter, and turns out he's the guy that invented Deer Hunter.
What?
And but he was a marketing guy, not a game programmer. He said, yeah, well, he was trying to figure out, you know, what can we sell, because people come in here and our customers, right? It's Walmart rednecks. What can we sell to rednecks in Walmart that have computers? And he was like, I know, a deer hunting game. So he came up with the orange box with the deer head silhouette and put it up on a shelf and stood back across the store from it, you know, and was like, yep, I can see that over there, and I know that's a deer hunting game. And then he was just like, all right, now I got to find somebody that can write me a deer hunting game and put it in my box. And the Ferrari that he pulled up in is a testament to how well that game sold.
Oh my God. It's kind of sad in a way, but you can't be mad about that. You know what I mean? Like,
No, not at all.
I mean, I wouldn't play Deer Hunter. I have no interest in that, but more power to him if you can make a product like that. Oh my God.
Yeah. So whenever we had the Space Tyrant guys on, the guy that I believe it's the guy that's CEO of that company, because his wife was there too, or partner or whatever. I don't know if they're married or whatever, but I think they got kids together now. But yeah, it was like she was there with another guy named Rob, his wife. They were buddies, and it was just like we were all just hanging out at taco night.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, you worked on some other games into the mid-aughts, and then what got you? I mean, according to what I'm reading anyway, it looks like the last game you made was where was it? God damn it. There we go. Yeah, the last game you worked on was Trains?
Yeah, I worked on some scenarios for Trains.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, I saw that you were with Team 17 and worked on like some of the Worms games and most importantly the Alien Breed stuff. And I got psyched up. I was like, oh man, Alien Breed, because I had that on the Amiga. That was my go-to game back then. But it turns out it's actually the newer Alien Breeds, like 2009, 2010 when those got made.
Well, I have to make a correction there. I had nothing to do with Worms.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I know that somehow my name has gotten linked to that game and some others. I don't have the slightest idea how it happened.
Okay. Yeah, because if you go to Moby Games and you look up your profile, you're listed on...
It says I was involved in Worms.
Yeah, several Worms games. Yes. I think 3 or 4 of them. Three of them, yeah. 3 Worms.
So I have absolutely no idea.
Well, just cash the check when it shows up anyway. Because
I will.
But you also worked on, and this is, I think, probably one of the more divergent titles of your catalog here, NHRA Drag Racing Main Event.
In to run the development part of a company called Moto One down in Dallas, Texas. And so I was in charge of product development for the company. So I did a number of car racing games for them because that was their...
Oh. Okay, that kind of makes sense. It has you as
product line.
Oh, okay. Because, you might want to look at the... you might want to look at your Moby Games profile. Because there's a bunch of Worm games on here. Apparently, they have you listed as lead QA on Worms Armageddon. And quality assurance.
Last time I looked, it was only one game, but...
And they also have you at QA on Worms 2 as well. So, yeah, maybe you want to try to correct that if that's not accurate. Let's see, what else did you work on? You've had quite the career. Like, what is there was one here I wanted to ask about. No. Where is it? 1991. Ancients 1, Death Watch.
Never heard of it.
Well, apparently they said you worked on it. Wow, okay. Apparently they have you as a programmer on that game. Is there another Mark Baldwin out there that they might be confusing?
There are multiple Mark Baldwins, yeah, if you look at it.
Oh, that's funny. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep misattributing your career. I'm just going on the information.
What do they know that you
just
don't?
Blame it on like a weekend drinking binge or something. It's just like, I don't know, man. I got up Monday.
Fell asleep one day, and then the next day a game was made, and somehow you were involved. How did that happen?
We could write games much faster then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Spin it over drunken Stuber and over a weekend, and you got a game.
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Oh my god. Apparently this thing also says you're mentioned as a special thanks to for High Command Europe. Which is is that a Microprose game? Yeah. No, 360 Pacific. Apparently you're mentioned in the special thanks of that game.
I guess anything that happened with 360 and QQP.
But I mean,
He was in the building.
Yeah.
Thanks for holding the door for me that one day.
It's like the early days of Atari, right? Like nobody really remembers who made anything there. It's just like we were all there, and
so I know these are all your babies, but let's out of these, out of like the Starfleet and the Empires and the Perfect Generals, what would you say is the game you're most proud of?
Empire Deluxe, I think.
Oh, is that why it's still going strong even to this day? Because it seems like it's not just you. It seems like that's the one that a lot of people look at most fondly in that series.
it's putting a game together, a good game, is very much a process of taking a lot of pieces and getting them to juggle with each other and juggle well. This is a game design. It's not programming, it's game design I'm talking about here.
Okay.
And with Empire Deluxe, I think I got that juggling better than any other game I've ever done.
Oh, wow. Wow, no wonder no wonder that Kickstarter that just happened. I think they brought in 3 times what their goal was. I think
last I heard, yes.
Which is, I mean, they had a fairly modest goal, which is great. That's how Kickstarter seem to work these days. But yeah, the fact that they went triple past it is just amazing. You know, that is pretty great. Have you played the Killer Bee software version of your game?
Not for a while, no.
Oh, okay. But that's awesome that not only were you aware of the Kickstarter, but you backed it as well. I'll have to play this more. Well, I'm getting licenses for the new ones, so I'll have to play those. I've been looking... Sorry, go ahead.
I've often wondered why, like, the suitability of a game like Perfect General to the tablet market would be amazing. So I've often wondered why nobody has stepped up and tried to do like a reboot of Perfect General for that. Because the touch interface would be just perfect for that, and the pacing and everything, and it's simplistic yet deep in the puzzle stuff. But it's not like, you know, there's a difference between you sit down with Perfect General or you sit down with some Gary Grigsby Eastern Front stuff, right? So the approachability.
Yeah, I liked having more approachability than the heavy Gary Gygax stuff and that kind of things. I wanted a clean system that really brought into the feel for what I was looking for and the interesting decision making.
Right, and yeah, that's the thing about your games is, I mean, they're deep, they're detailed, of the Empire and Perfect General games at least, but they're also very accessible. You know, like, even for a youngin' like me who had never played strategy games, it was not hard to just jump right in to Perfect General 2 and Empire 2 and play them.
Yeah, and I would say, like, when Nintendo did Advanced Wars, I saw immediately, like, that's very heavily, it's heavily influenced not only by that, but Blue Byte's Battle Isle, also back in the day.
Yeah, good callback.
Which there's a really close translation of Battle Isle. It's called Good Little War Game, Great Little War Game, something like that. Feels just like Battle Isle to me. Yeah.
Is that on Steam?
There's one on Steam.
There is
one on Steam, but they've mostly been on mobile.
Yeah, but it's called Great Big War Game on Steam because it's bigger.
I'll have to look that up because.
Myself.
Oh, I'll have to play that because I loved Advanced Wars. Loved Advanced Wars. So yeah, I can totally see the legacy of especially Perfect General. Now, how did the Perfect General games come about?
Well, there was a new publisher who wanted to basically get into the game publishing business. He had some ideas for games, and he contacted White Wolf and from a tactical tank game. And he had some ideas for it, and we looked at those ideas, and then I developed the game design based on it.
Say again?
Where'd you lose me?
Oh, no, he said he developed the game design for it, and that became Perfect General.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that last part, which is weird.
Yeah, so Perfect General was when you were creating the scenarios for that, were you looking at it as sort of like a chess puzzle sort of thing, or was it a thing like, okay, here's the intended solution to this, or was it more freeform than that? Because I kind of took it as like, well, here's a scenario and there's a way to win this, especially when it got harder.
No, these were, well, the scenarios were primarily designed, most of them were based on historic battles and so on. The historic influence of that. And actually, that's some of the ideas which led me into Empire 2 as well. Originally, I mean, the scenario idea goes all the way back to Empire Deluxe, where I brought out a scenario disc.
Right.
Historic battles. And also with that scenario disc, I brought in a bunch of different game designers and other famous people scenarios for me. So I probably created the first anthology scenario disc.
So you're to blame for all those Duke Nukem CDs that were at Walmart back in the day. I don't know. Do you remember that, Brian? When they had like,
oh god, or Quake,
5,000 Quake levels on the CD.
Yeah, it was Duke Nukem. It was Quake. It was Doom. Also, like 18 million Doom levels that other people made that we didn't pay them for. We're gonna put them on a disc and sell them. Yay! It's like,
yeah, but I looked at the list of names that was in your anthology, and that was some pretty well known folks back then.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I mean, there was Will Wright was on it, Sid Meier was on it, Jerry Purnell was on it.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah, there's some people on there.
Oh my god.
I've heard of that Sid guy before.
That's I didn't know that. I mean, again, I didn't play Empire Deluxe, but I didn't know that the scenario disc was like a compilation of such luminaries. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been trying to get a boxed copy of Empire Deluxe for a while because I want the manual. I want the printed manual, and I keep seeing this scenario thing pop up. I'm like, why do I need that? Well, now I kind of understand why I need that. I wonder if they'll work with the new one. Probably not. So that would be awesome.
I don't know.
If they did. Probably not. I mean, who has a floppy drive anymore? I don't know. I don't have a floppy drive.
My data format for the scenarios was fairly clean and simple, so I just don't know if Mark Kincaid's completely changed the data format or is using the same data format.
I don't know either. I should look that up because I'm very curious. So we've talked about all the games you've made, but you seem to like you're still playing games now. It sounds like you're still playing games now. So what are some of the games you're playing today that have you enthralled?
Well, let's see. I'm still suckered into The Simpsons.
Wait, what?
It's an iOS game, The Simpsons. Simpsons Tapped Out, I think, or something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
I have never heard of this.
It's a freebie game that I have been playing for 3 or 4 years. I got my wife addicted to it too. I keep thinking I gotta quit because it's meaningless tapping. Quit.
Wait a minute.
The thing I was really shocked by was with esports, right? Because I googled like what was the number one esport, and I figured, well, that's going to be like Dota or League of Legends or something, maybe Counter-Strike. Turns out it's actually Candy Crush on the mobile platform. Yeah, it's actually televised. Like I think it was CBS ran like a series where they were playing like Candy Crush tournaments on television, and it's like that's the most televised esport now, if you could call it that.
Oh my god!
I was shocked. I had to go lay down after I read that.
Well, once I get my new Android phone in hopefully about a week or so, I will definitely, because I have an old Android phone, I will definitely.
Did I tell you about Joan's phone?
No, what happened?
It committed suicide in the car. It was like humid in Ohio. She left it in the car overnight, and the case that it had on it, drew moisture, enough moisture to kill the phone.
No.
Or she lied and she dropped it in the toilet, one or the other. But anyway, so, and this is like an $800 HTC M9, right? So I wept. And
no.
But she needs a phone, because if she's going to get back, she's got to have GPS, right? So it's like, okay, we'll go to Walmart, see what you can get. She ended up with an Alcatel for $29.
Oh, what?
Right? And yeah, you can buy a smartphone $29.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those track phone prepaids, but you don't have to buy the plan. So $30. She pulled her SIM card out of the dead phone, stuck it in that, and she's off. It's just like, so now I feel like that other phone was about $770 overpriced, because she's like, well, I can't really tell a difference between them other than the case was metal on the other one and this one's plastic. It's like, okie dokes.
Oh,
so there you go, Brian. What do you do for a new phone? Go down to Walmart, $30.
No,
I'm actually a used iPhone user. I buy used iPhones off eBay.
There's a good market for those, right? Because they don't really lose their value, iPhones.
So are you using like a 5, a 6, a 4? What version of iPhone are you up to?
5S.
Okay.
And
yeah.
really,
I'm convinced like the form factor of the 4 and the 4S is like right where I want a phone to be, because the 5, they made it a little taller, but it's really like the 4. I just wish that I could find a decent Android phone that was that size, just a 4-inch thing. There's like Sony has one, but it's like a $400 phone, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to really do that. But if I could find a budget one to switch to, I would totally do it. I made the mistake of getting an Xperia like X, which is basically like carrying a Pop-Tart around in your pocket. And I was scared to sit down with it in my pocket for fear I'd just bend it in half. It was huge. It's like, you need a big pocket for that phone. And now I'm kind of to the other extreme where I just want like the most minimal thing. Because it's like, I got a tablet. I don't need the phone to be a tablet. And that seems to be where they're headed, Or you could hold an iPhone up to your head like you're talking on it, and then tell people you shrank. It's like, I'm shrinking.
Sorry. So is that like, do you primarily play on mobile now, or do you have any PC games you're
Yeah, I am playing a more serious game than The Simpsons. Okay. I'm playing XCOM 2.
Oh,
there you go.
Yes.
Because you can't stop at a mobile game, because then you get labeled a filthy casual, and it's like it's like the godfather of gaming, and now he's a filthy casual.
So are you playing War of the Chosen?
You've redeemed yourself.
What was the question?
Are you playing War of the Chosen?
The new it just came out today.
I've been working all day.
Oh, okay. No, it just came out today, and
it seriously changes the campaign. It's an excellent expansion.
So whenever they came out with whatever the one was that had like the hero bosses, that kind of broke the game to me, because it's like at any point one of those super aliens could show up and just wreck you. So did this tone them down, or did it just bring your stuff up to their level?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Huh.
They can still show up at random. You don't know whether or not they're going to be there, although you do get a warning as to whether or not they might show up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there was one time I was like in the 5th mission, and like the King Viper dude showed up, and that was the end of my whole squad.
Oh man.
Well, the game can be brutal. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
I might need to try to play more, maybe, if I can get over myself. I try to play those. It's like, I don't want to kill my guys, and I just stop because I'm too terrified about killing people that don't exist.
What you have to accept that some of your squad members are going to die.
No, I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to accept that, so I'm just not going to play. So therefore, no one dies. Therefore, no one dies.
The other way to go is mods and save scumming, so that you don't actually end up having them die. And you can totally do that too.
Or you name them after your friends and relatives, and then you feel really
That's
bad.
exactly what I'm not doing. I gotta do the opposite of that. I should name it after people I don't like, of which there aren't many, but you know. But we should start wrapping up, because some of us have to get dinner. But Mark, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us tonight. It's been great getting your perspective on these classic games that so many of us love, and it's also great to talk to you on like the eve of this Kickstarter that kind of continues that legacy. So that was pretty awesome, and I'm sure it was really satisfying to see so many people backing that Kickstarter for something you helped create. You know.
It is satisfying to still see Empire running around and being enjoyed years later.
Yeah, it so is. I really can't wait to get the combined edition. I'm super excited, and I paid enough to get licenses for like all their games, so I'm going to be playing Perfect General too. So I'm very excited to be diving into those. But folks, that does it for this episode. Thursday. Just a couple of quick programming notes. Thursday, we were going to be playing Battlefront 2 because that's what the wheel chose. But the person who specifically requested we put that on the list can't make it. So we're going to do that later. So we are going to return to a game we had a fabulous time with last time, Deep Rock Galactic. We're going to be doing some co-op of that because that game is a blast. Yes.
And it just had a major update.
Yeah, major update.
Some new stuff.
Major update.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they added a few new monsters, I think, and they've got like maggots running around now.
Yeah, because I watched their Discord and I hadn't seen them say anything, but I haven't been in there for a few days. So
yeah, it just came out like
I was wondering. It's been like 2 months and we haven't heard a peep. And
yeah, no, it just came out like
this is right on time.
2 days ago. So
it was the last update. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next week we have an early morning podcast early morning for Spaz and I especially because our guests are, I forget where, but they're overseas. We're going to be talking to the folks behind the spacey survival game Hellion. Hellion? I don't know how you say it. Hellion. Sure. Let's go with that.
Are they ready to talk yet? Because
yeah, we're having them. Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently,
because that thing's still pretty rough. So
I think they just had an update for it, like within the last couple weeks. I think they had a fairly big update, or maybe I'm thinking Project Osiris, which is a very similar game that just had an update like today.
Osiris just had a major update today. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Hellion had an update like within the last couple of weeks, last month. Yeah, the last month is a blur, so I don't remember. But I think they had an update recently.
Okay, because they came out with that thing. It was super early.
Yeah.
It was way early.
It ran like garbage on my machine, so I'm hoping it runs better because I have to make video of it. So that's what we're going to have on next week. So again, Mark, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about all these great games. And we should probably do another show at some point where we have both you and Trevor on. I know it's a lot of Starfleet, folks, but you got to understand how seminal Starfleet is to like space gaming in general, really. So it's worth having a few shows on. Seriously. Yeah, Mark, thanks for joining us. Jim and Spaz, thanks for being co-hosts. And we got to find out where Hunter is. What the hell happened to Hunter? I hope he's okay. Like, hopefully he's not...
Yeah, I'm sure he's fine, because he was online like half hour before we started.
Yeah, I talked to him about...
He must have had something come up.
I talked to him about the possible Eve Valkyrie show that we're going to be doing, hopefully next month. So hopefully he's okay. But everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you next time. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.